Hello, friends, and welcome to a series I'm genuinely really enjoying. This is Tier Ranking My Music by Vibe. Today, we are going to be doing my second album, which is called The Way Out. It came out in 2021. And I'll be very honest with you. When I sat down to create this, I thought to myself, is this the album to be doing a fun little game with? Because The Way Out is a very dark album. I wrote it about chronic pain, depression, OCD, and I created it in a time when those things were at a very big peak in my life, and I was really not doing well at all. But then I thought, you know what? What is the point of art if we can't have a little bit of fun with it? So that's what we're going to be doing today. Tier ranking The Way Out by Vibe, and maybe you'll learn some things about this album that I love very much. Okay, here are our categories. We're learning valuable lessons. I like how this is the most positive category. This somehow relates. These are songs that don't exactly fit with the theme of the album, but they kind of vibe, so they relate somehow. I'm just trying to process. These are songs where it is clear I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Maybe it's not that bad. These are songs where, even in the middle of a bad situation, I'm saying, hang on, is it that bad? And then we've got the next category. No, it is. Someone should check on me like now. These are going to be for songs where it is clear I'm not doing hot. And our final category is sick, which I have reserved just for the song called Sick, and maybe one other, because I think that's probably the darkest song I've made. So, shall we start? Shall we do it? Straight up with the warning, I am going to put the warning into this somehow relates, because if you listen to the warning, it is not a literal song. It's this journey. I actually wrote a whole short story about this song, and it was going to be this boy who the city was on fire and he had to run through this forest to go and get help. And all along the way in this forest, there were these trials that he had to go through. And every song on the album was going to be one of those trials. So at one part in the short story, he comes to this kind of altar in the woods and he has to give some of his blood up. And that was going to be As I Burn, which was originally called Bleed. So it was going to be this journey through the forest to find the way out. And then he was going to bring help back to the kingdom. And now that I'm saying that out loud, it's very clear what this is about. The warning is a metaphorical overture for this album, which was about me feeling like my inner kingdom was burning to the ground and I needed to run and try and get help to find a way out. So I see how it relates. Next up is As I Burn, and this is a very dark song. The chorus, give me a new body and a better soul, some medicine to forget it all. I just want a way out from all that I've learned. Can you help me feel alive as I burn? It's really dark, and it's about me feeling like things that had happened to my body in various interpretations of that sentence were still there. It's like I could feel them, the remnants of things, or more literally, I could feel my body not feeling comfortable because of chronic pain. I'm gonna put this into no, it is someone should check on me like now, and I might bump it down to sick. We'll see. I'm gonna circle back. Sex toy. Where am I gonna put sex toy? I feel like I should have made another category because sex toy is like its own thing. I'm gonna put it in We're Learning Valuable Lessons. Because Sex Toy was a really big deal for me. I remember writing it and being a little bit shocked by the level of honesty I had expressed. And then I was like, there's no way I can put out a song called Sex Toy. My parents are going to find out, you know? I literally was thinking about releasing it under a totally different artist name because I thought it was the best song I'd ever written and I knew it had to be out in the world. But I was like, people in my life are going to hear this song. So I'm going to put it in We're Learning Valuable Lessons, although I wish I'd made a category that was like, fuck you, man. Because Sex Toy is a really kind of triumphant song in a way. But We're Learning Valuable Lessons will do. Sunset. I'm going to put Sunset in No It Is, Someone Should Check on Me. Like, well, yeah, I was going to say I might put it in Maybe It's Not That Bad. Because in Sunset, you know, I'm saying I'm tired of dying. I want to live. I wasn't actually dying. The chronic pain I was dealing with was in no way terminal. But having chronic pain feels like you are dying. I do not think that is a dramatic statement to make. At least it did for me. It felt like my body was deteriorating. The chronic pain for me was in both of my arms, which you have to use for everything, but especially for me as a pianist, it was really distressing. So even though I'm saying I'm tired of dying, I want to live in Sunset, those are not the words of someone who's doing well. So I'm going to put it in No It Is, Someone Should Check on Me like now. My final days. I'm going to put my final days in I'm just trying to process. Because my final days was about, and it's good coming off of Sunset, because as dramatic as it sounds, part of me was like, what if I'm gonna die? What if this is it? I wasn't gonna die. I was not gonna die. But to me at the time, I was 18, 19. This was horribly distressing. Um, and part of me felt like my body, you know, was just falling apart because the doctors could not explain my chronic pain. There was no reason why I should have it. All of my connective tissues, great. No inflammation, no nerve damage, you know, anything like that. Um, so I'm going to put my final days and I'm just trying to process because I was kind of thinking about, like, okay, if this is it, if this is the end, how would I want to go? It's dark, but I think we've all thought about that at some point. You know, if I was going to die, how would I want to die? Would I want to go peacefully in my sleep? Would I want to fall down the stairs? You know, um, and for me, I had this vision of kind of being laid to rest in this really beautiful place. So that's what that song's about. We'll put it, and I'm just trying to process because I was just trying to process. I'm gonna put Avery in I'm just trying to process. So Avery is about someone actually named Avery in my life who I met at a summer camp, and I felt like this person was the definition of perfection. I thought he looked exactly like a young gay person should. I actually didn't know he was gay. I found that out years later. Um, and actually, Avery, it's two people. One of them was named Avery, one of them was not. But I've used it in my life as a metaphor for people who I get so insanely jealous of that I wish I could literally. Avery is about literally wanting to perform a ritual to transform yourself into another person because you're that displeased with you as your current self that you want to, you know, rip off your skin and put theirs on and have their heart, have their spirit, have everything that they have. You want it. Give me what you got. I want it. Give me one drop of the holy blood you bleed. I want what you've got, Avery. So we're gonna put it. I'm just trying to process because I was trying to process all that jealousy. Medical emergency. We're gonna put this one in no, it is someone should check on me now. Medical emergency was specifically about the summer I had before college, where I was really trying to figure out what was going on with my arms, chronic pain wise. I was going to doctors, I was trying treatments and interventions, both medical and alternative. I totally relearned how to play the piano so that I could wire my tendons together differently. And I felt really violated going to these appointments. I did not like being, examined by doctors. I did not like, having electrical pulses shocked into my arm, to determine if my nerves were working well. I felt really violated. The line, I took off my clothes and I put on the robe and I tried to warm my skin, but I knew in my heart they would tear me apart with their cold, cold hands again. I think kind of sums up that. So, medical emergency. Oh, why do I have two medical emergencies? Am I missing a song? Stand by. Medical emergency. No. Okay. I wondered why there were 14 of these because I was like, there's only 13 songs on this record. So we'll put medical emergency there twice. Great. Condemn. Where do we want to put condemn? I'm going to put condemn into I'm just trying to process. Condemn, it's kind of an interlude where their voices, it's me shouting like devil, devil at myself because, and this brings us into Call Me the Devil. I, for whatever reason, felt a lot of, I wasn't raised religious or anything like that, but I felt a lot of shame around who I was, specifically being gay and specifically gay sex. I felt a lot of shame around at this point in my life. And Call Me the Devil, with me saying this feels right, but I have all this messaging telling me it's wrong, it's bad, it's sinful, whatever. And OCD really does not help in situations like that because it will latch on and create those intrusive thoughts and not let you even, lift your head off the ground to believe that you might actually be good and worthy and that the way you want to have sex is wonderful and should be encouraged, So I'm going to put Call Me the Devil into I'm just trying to process. Even though I think it's a darker song and it could go further down on this scale of emotions we've created, I'm going to put it there because I really was trying to sort through all of that baggage. Sacrifice. I'm going to put sacrifice into we're learning some valuable lessons because sacrifice is the first time I really came into contact with the idea that you need to change. You need to change. Like I say in the chorus, what will I sacrifice to live my life? What will I give away to see another day? To burn in fire, to freeze in ice, will I be bitter or will I be nice? Or will I pay the price? Will I make or will I be the sacrifice, right? A fancy and I love those lyrics. Some of the lyrics I am most proud of in that chorus. But we've all encountered that concept of we have to sacrifice things or we will be sacrificed, if we don't move through and find a better way to exist in the world than some of our self-destructive patterns, then those patterns will take us down. We're all familiar with this concept, right? Putting it into practice, another concept altogether. But that's what sacrifice is about. So we're learning valuable lessons. Angels. I'm going to put angels into I'm just trying to process. Angels was me. I remember I was in college at the time, freshman year, and someone had said to me something like, I read that we are going to be entirely out of resources by 2024. It's 2025, surprise, still alive. And that scared me so much. And I was hearing so much news about global warming, how the world was ending, all this stuff. And not that that stuff isn't happening, but I hope that everyone realizes that the media's portrayal of that stuff is to incite fear and inaction ultimately. And timer. And that there's so much good stuff happening in the world that does not get reported on. And it's really down to us to seek out that stuff. The world is not ending. The world is not ending. But I didn't know that at the time. So Angels was me. Basically, I just wrote a list of all my deepest, darkest fears. What if the planet dies? What if I'm in pain forever? What if I never achieve success? All that stuff that I was just trying to process. And I should say that this album was really aided along by a journaling practice I had been encouraged to do. As I was figuring out that my chronic pain was not a structural problem, but a neurological one. When our nervous and limbic systems are really stuck in a state of hyperarousal, hypervigilance, fear, panic, anger, resentment, all those things that keep us elevated, we will experience symptoms in our body. Just like when you're stressed out, you might get a headache or a stomach ache or something like that. The mind and the body, one and the same. One of my greatest life influences, Louise Hay, once said, "Those who deny a connection between the mind and the body have never had a sexual fantasy," which I love. But anyway, I had been encouraged to do this process where I wrote down events from my past, from my present, and personality traits that caused me a lot of suffering, and journal 20 minutes every single day, followed by 10 minutes of meditation about this. This is rooted in the work of Dr. John Sarno, which I think is a little outdated now. There's better research, but he was one of the first people to draw a connection in the more mainstream Western medical allopathic community that the mind is capable of creating pain in the body. So all that journaling was giving me a lot of angst to work with in these songs. Okay, Sick is going into Sick. This is just a really dark 90 seconds where, at the time I was aware I had OCD, but it didn't seem to me like it was causing me issues, which can be one of the really sinister and just really bad parts of OCD is that it's hard to tell sometimes without professional assistance. And I was seeing a therapist, but it was not one who specialized in OCD, and sometimes that's my oven. Sometimes just it's hard to tell. So anyway, in hindsight, I see that Sick is basically me speaking to myself as if I was kind of the voice of the OCD. I was experiencing all the deep, dark fears I had, that I was sick, I was worthless, I was, like a sinner or a horrible person, and that if people in my life knew who I really was, they would want nothing to do with me. So that's what Sick is. And then Rainfall, we're learning valuable lessons. Rainfall, I could put it in I'm just trying to process too, but Rainfall is ultimately probably the most optimistic song on the record, and it's one of my favorites. I love it. I wrote it when it was raining, and I remember I was babysitting my brother's cat, who was in the room with me when I was doing this. And yeah, I think by the end of the record, we've learned some valuable lessons on Rainfall. My friends, thank you so much for sticking with me for 20 minutes of going through my second album, The Way Out. I really have enjoyed, I really love creating my music, and then I really love engaging with it intellectually. And I know, I feel like there's rhetoric out there that artists should, let other people figure out what their songs are about or leave it a mystery. But I put so much into this music that I I want to be a scholar of my own work. I want to engage with it in a scholarly way. I want to dissect it. I want to talk about it. Um, I want to make these little video essays about my work because um, it means so much to me, and I want to explain it and explain how it came to be and why it exists and why I love it and what it means. Of course, it's totally open to anyone's interpretation, and what it means to you is the truth for you. Um, but I also really feel called to engage with it in this way. And we had some fun. So, okay, let's take a look. And we're learning valuable lessons. We've got sex toy sacrifice and rainfall. Great. This somehow relates, the warning. Trying to process my final days, Avery, Condemn, Call Me the Devil, Angels. It's doing a lot of processing on this record. Nothing, and maybe it's not that bad. That's so funny. No, it is. Someone's to check on me like now. As I Burn, Sunset, Medical Emergency, and then in Sick, we've got Sick. And you know what? I don't even want to put Sick in Sick. I'm going to bump Sick up to I'm just trying to process, because I was. I don't think it should be in a category called sick, because I was not sick. I am not sick, and I was just trying to process. So there we go. All right, friends. So much love to you. Remember, if you're not already part of Robin's Nest, my wonderful email list where I share a lot about this record, actually. There's a series that you'll go through that's about this record. But I also share more in-depth and intimate stories about my life and music that I don't share on the internet elsewhere. So come join me there, and when you join, you get access to my archive of unreleased music. And I will see you very soon. I love you. Goodbye.